Meeting and the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on July 26th.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Minutes been approved. Resolution number 30683.
Yes, Commissioners, this is board consideration with Starlight Theater Association for their agreement with concert presentations agreement with, of course, Live Nation. And you've got a memo from myself on your packet, and I'm going to ask that Rich Baker, of course, is the president, executive producer of Starlight Theater, explain the relationship between Starlight and Live Nation.
Okay, I'll try. This all started actually to make my job easier. This really just is a restatement of the agreement we've had since 2002. There was an agreement, there's been 3 amendments that Parks Department all approved, but that made it very difficult to figure out, anytime you had to look at something in the agreement, you had to go to the original agreement, see if it got amended or anything else. So it all started by me saying, can't we just put it in one document that's easy for all of us to read? So that's what we did. So even though it seems like a long document, it's actually fewer pages than the original and all the amendments. At the same time, though, I wanted to take care of what I perceived as a problem. Back in St. Louis, I worked for a for-profit theater. I don't know if you guys remember Fox Theater. And we did a lot of works with not-for-profits. So I knew there were key triggers in language that can cause problems with sales tax. So even though the Live Nation folks thought it was fine to have a split of profits type scenario, I knew that on occasion that could create problems. So we really changed nothing concerning the Parks Department. We changed nothing concerning even the time frame. It still expires September of 2019. The only thing we changed is really a matter of substance over form, or form over substance. We changed the way they were paid, and now it's a producer fee basically that we pay them rather than some kind of share of the profits. But the whole idea was to design a model that worked and came out very similar financially. So it takes care of a lot of problems for us, or at least potential problems. And quite frankly, for me, since I have to renegotiate this contract in a little over 3 years, it gives me a better way to renegotiate too. For some reason, when you're splitting profits, people are a little more sensitive on those percentages. When you're just talking about either adjusting a fee, it's a little bit different. So it actually helps Starlight to do this. Live Nation is in agreement, and I think it just clarifies the whole issue. So that's why I'm asking for your approval today.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rich.
Resolution number 30684.
Yes, Commissioners, this is consideration of resolution removal of a tract of land, about 3 acres, over off of Linwood in front of the VA hospital. And as you can indicated by the memo that's in your packet and the resolution, the accompanying ordinance kind of spells out the details. With board approval, this would then go through the City Council review process and then ultimately be placed on the November ballot for consideration by the citizens of Kansas City. And we would recommend approval. If you have any questions, we have both planning staff that's been involved along with Lana from the Law Department.
Are there any questions at this time?
We talked about it.
I think we have had a long discussion about this. So, okay, with that, is there a motion to accept the resolution?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Resolution passes. Resolution number 30685.
Yes, Commissioners, similar to the prior one, another tract of land, this case 1.2 acres at 24th and Flora. Resolution to advance this to the City Council there again for their consideration, place this on the November ballot for the voters of Kansas City to give consideration for this to be removed from the park system.
All right. Any questions, comments regarding this? We discussed this extensively as well, so is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion seconded for approval. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution number 30686.
Yes, Commissioners, this is consideration of a licensed facility use agreement for the Hot Dog Festival over in the 18th and Vine area, sponsored by the Negroes Baseball Museum. And Terrence Williams is handling this for us, and I'm going to ask him to answer any questions, and he's probably going to introduce Bob Kendrick.
Yes. Good afternoon, Commissioners. We have before you today the use and concession agreement for 17th Terrace, or better known as Buck O'Neill, right there in front of Greg Kleist Community Center. And I have my honor to introduce today the president of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Mr. Bob Kendrick. He's going to come up and answer any questions you have directly about the event that's going to take place this weekend, August 13th.
All right.
Great.
All right.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. And thank you. We're so excited again to have Parks and Rec as a partner of our 4th annual Hot Dog Festival. We are gearing up for what we believe is going to be several thousand people making their way to historic 18th and Vine. Who knew that the hot dog would generate so much interest as it has? What started off as a crazy idea has become one of the staple events at 18th and Vine, and so we're super excited about this day-long. We go from noon until 10 p.m. It is a family-friendly event, live entertainment all day, of course, with headline performances by legendary Lakeside and Confunction. So it's going to be a big party at 18th and Vine. So we're excited to have Parks and Rec as one of our partners for this event, along with the city of Kansas City, Missouri, and others who have made this festival possible for us to do at 18th and Vine. So a lot of hot dogs going to be eaten, and I think a good time had by all. So we're super excited about this weekend. It looks like
Tell
the
us
weather's going
about
to be
Frank
good.
White's involvement.
Well, Frank White, Jackson County Executive Frank White has a new hot dog name for him. We created, part of this festival, in lieu of this festival, 3 years ago, we created what is called the Monarch. And so we wanted to have our own signature hot dog, and the Monarch has played to rave reviews. We cannot keep them. So this year, we thought we'd have a little bit more fun, and we added a hot dog name for Frank, which is called the Royal Frank. And so we introduced that in a press conference 2 weeks ago, and it was very exciting. Frank's excited about it. He'll be there as well for the festival. And so, yeah, we're having a lot of fun with this thing. Of course, we also announced the release of a soon-to-be-released bobblehead doll for Frank White as well. So it's an extension of the Hot Dog Festival. And each year over the next 4 years, we'll introduce a new bobblehead in association with the Hot Dog Festival for a legendary African-American Kansas City Royal, but they'll be in Monarch uniforms. So really, really excited about this, and just, again, trying to build on the brand and get more people excited about what we're doing. But Frank is very, very excited about having a hot dog. You get a hot dog and a bobblehead, you've made it.
Well said.
I've got to ask this question. Describe what a Royal Frank dog is.
The
I
Royal,
was on this.
I'm so glad you asked.
Of course.
And the Monarch.
The Monarch, which we did 3 years ago, the Monarch starts with a farmland jumbo hot dog. It is topped with pulled pork, cheddar cheese, red onions, jalapenos, bacon, and then it's covered, of course, with Gates Sweet and Mild barbecue sauce.
Holy smokes.
And then the new Royal Frank. The new Royal Frank starts with a buttered toasted bun, and then the hot dog is butterflied and grilled on both sides. It is topped with cheddar, chopped bacon, red onions. It then is brushed with Gates' original sauce. Now, Mr. Gates working for me to get one with his hot and spicy sauce, so that one's still to come. And then it is smeared with just a little bit of mustard, and so that's the way Frank likes his hot dog, and so we've got two now. We got a double plate combination of the Monarch and the Royal Frank that will be made available for our festival goers this weekend. So, yeah, we're excited. I think we're going to get a lot of folks down to 18th and Vine this weekend, so a lot of hot dogs. And if you don't like either one of those, we've got this major exotic topping station where you can come and build your own hot dog the way that you want to eat it. Along with all the other stuff that goes along with ballparks, popcorn, nachos, cotton candy, all this stuff ain't no good, but just for one day. Just for one day, you can put the diet aside.
Is there an admission fee for the event?
Yeah, right now we're doing advance tickets for $10, which essentially is an admission to the museum, because the museum is open for our festival goers as well. So it's a special, and not only with the $10 advance, you get a free hot dog and a free Pepsi with your ticket. So it is the best ticket out there. Yeah, I don't know anywhere else you can go see this level of entertainment for $10 and get a free hot dog and a Pepsi.
And a Pepsi. Do know. Okay, thank you.
And then it's $20 a day of the festival.
That's great. And I just wanted to say thanks for all you do and the museum. I mean, it's absolutely incredible in our history here and how you're keeping that going. I love when the Royals, when we're watching and they do talk and have you on, and I wish they would do it more often. But anyway, it's an incredible museum, and I wish we had some of those players in the Royals right now.
We could use them.
Yeah.
We could use them.
We could.
No, thank you. I
It's a
appreciate
great
that.
museum.
Absolutely.
So-
Thank you all.
All right, is there a motion to accept the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Very good. Resolution passed. Best of luck at your event.
Thank you. Thank you. Hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Resolution number 30687.
Yes, Commissioners, we have a presentation on the citizen survey, and Julie Stinson and Kate Bender are going to present that this afternoon, and they, of course, represent the city manager's office.
All right, well, good afternoon, Commissioners. I feel a little set up being right after Bob Kendrick and the Hot Dog Festival. So here's the data. I can't put any gate sauce on this guy. So we'll start out. Again, Julie Steenson, Kate Bender, City Manager's Office. We've been coming a few years now and presenting these results to you. So we'll just sort of roll through the first few slides that reiterate a lot of the things we talk about, really kind of our messaging around the survey. First slide is just those basic methodology tactics that our contractor uses. We do use a third-party contract, and it's a somewhat local firm out of the Metro ETC Institute. We use them primarily because they have a huge presence nationally. They have surveys with over 700 counties and cities, so gives us that opportunity to benchmark with other large cities. It also helps us to choose questions and all sorts of things. So our survey is really big. We send out 9,000 surveys, have a completion rate of around 40 to 50%, and that gives us a lot of statistically valid data for a lot of smaller geographic areas like our zip codes and council districts. It is broken down by councilmatic district. It's triggered by mail, and then from there we have a phone follow-up. We also have an online version for anyone who gets the survey and wants to take it online. We ask the questions in sort of two different ways. Some of the questions, the overall questions, perceptions of the city as a place to live, things like that we ask in all 4 quarters. And so the survey samples broken into 4 quarters. Parks questions, we actually moved those to just being asked on 2 quarters, so quarter 2 and quarter 4. Some of that was due to we expanded the section a little bit. We wanted to make sure we were asking the right questions, and we felt that those 2 quarters sort of captured the seasonality. Quarter 2 takes place sort of more in the winter months, and then quarter 4 would be in early spring. And then, as it says there, it allows us to track year-round and balances out some of those seasonal anomalies. So one of the things we've really started to highlight are the ways that the citizen survey has been used to drive a lot of strategic decisions, including by the Parks Department. These are some examples from other departments, but I'm sure staff here can say just how important the citizen survey is to their decision making. So I would say Parks is one of the only departments who has actually set a goal for their citizen satisfaction levels, which is really admirable. So dangerous buildings, the last year's survey, or the last 2 years survey, has really helped us to make strategic decisions about the demolition program, which you saw was expanded and announced today. So this survey helped us with those decisions, helped the mayor and city manager. Bulky item pickup, we noticed a real downward trend in mid-year last year. We raised that to the city manager and said, hey, we see something going on here. People are not happy with how we cut the funding for that. And then the funding was ultimately restored. And then for communications purposes, the survey's been very helpful in us targeting where people want to have the actual physical city magazine. Those things are obviously fairly expensive to produce. I'm sure as Heidi would tell you, any print media is very difficult and hard to get to the right people, but this survey has given us some of that information of which neighborhoods are going to really appreciate that physical magazine. One of the things that we do, and is scattered throughout this presentation, in addition to the satisfaction ratings that citizens put on the survey, we also ask them to prioritize what they would like the city to emphasize. And that's at the overall level between city services, and then within sections like the parks section, what services that the Parks Department is offering do you want to prioritize? So you'll see that methodology throughout that combines both the importance and the satisfaction and gives us what we call our IS rank. And that also is another great way to prioritize where you want to put your focus. So looking at very high level trends year over year, From last year, it really is very dependent on the service area. As you can see, some areas increased with some big numbers, image of the city, leadership from elected officials and appointed. Satisfaction remained steady in quite a few questions. We did see some declines in some of the infrastructure, solid waste, police. And then where there was no trend really available, as you see in the blue area, Parks was one of those areas where there was either no change in the questions or no clear trend was available. So at a very, very high level, perception of the city, these questions are asked at the fairly early on in the survey. And you can see Kansas City is a place to live, image of the city. These are things that have been gaining over the last, we've got 3-year trend here, but that trend goes further back to where some of these questions have seen huge increases over the last decade or so. And most recently, as you can see, image of the city up 10%. Really in the last just couple of years. So we feel like overall, Kansas City as a place to live and people's perception is really, really improving. So this chart shows the satisfaction levels with, as I said, all of those high-level buckets of city services. And what we have, the IS rank there at the bottom, these are actually ordered in the order that they appear on that IS ranking table. And you can see Parks and Recreation there sort of in the middle of the pack with 64% satisfaction rating. So not to say that on the IS rank that it's not important to citizens. This just indicates that the combination of their relatively high level of satisfaction with where they rate it as a priority for the city to emphasize pushes us a little bit further into the middle of the IS table. So overall satisfaction, now we'll move more into your actual, the questions relevant to parks, has really remained high over time. As you can see, just slight increases over time with the two blue bars combined. That is the satisfied, very satisfied, satisfied. So no real change from last year. So obviously there's always room to move up. What I would say it would be taking from that gray area, since the yellow and orange is the very dissatisfied and dissatisfied is so low. You're really, you'd be chipping away at those people who get the survey and on a 5-point scale say, 3, and move on. So we always say that's a hard perception. That's a lot to move. That you got to really move people to get them into satisfied. So this chart, or this table rather, shows all of those questions in order of the level of satisfaction. And we have shown this the last couple of years to show from FY 12, 13, 14, we saw some really big increases, like unheard of, statistically significant increases for those few years. And what we're noticing now, though, is that either those changes have just sort of, you made maintenance of city parks, a pretty big gain from FY12 through FY14. That's sort of leveled off, which may just be, a normal occurrence. In some places, you're losing a little bit of ground. I would point out specifically tree trimming and other tree care. We suspect that in we know in FY13 we moved the question into the parks section. It used to be included in the infrastructure section, so putting that question amongst the questions of sidewalks and street maintenance and things, we suspect that just hid it a little bit, and then when it came into the parks section, we saw a huge jump in satisfaction, but then that has either remained stagnant or is starting to trend downward. So tree trimming, tree care, obviously, it seems to be an area perhaps of emphasis. And then you can see just sort of where some of the other smaller, but yet statistically significant declines are in the orange boxes. So citizens' priorities for parks questions. So this is the IS table specific to the Parks Department section. Tree trimming and tree care, that it rises to the top here. Lower satisfaction, high level of importance. Youth program activities, walking and biking trails, those are sort of your top 3. And then you can see as it goes down again from there. And again, I would point out some of those at the bottom are still fairly, decent levels of satisfaction, but just or may not be the highest priority for emphasis from citizens over time. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Kate. She'll walk you through some of these individual questions and also get into a little bit of the geographic variance for our city. So.
Okay, so delving a little bit more into the details, as I think Julie mentioned, in addition to asking with satisfaction with various park service areas, we also ask what we call experiential questions. So how have you been in contact with the city through a variety of different means, and two of which really fall into the Parks Department. Have you visited a park? Have you visited a community center? And so, looking back several years on these trends, the trend for parks, we saw some really good gains over the last few years that have really kind of been maintained. There's a little bit of a drop last year, but kind of back up. This year's change actually isn't statistically significant, so it might just be kind of a little bit of movement, but still, close to 8 in 10 residents saying that they visited a park, which I think that's very, very strong. Certainly, of all of the questions we ask, that is by far, the most common, the highest yes. We ask things: have you contacted 311? Have you used the website? All of which are over half, but this is the highest. So if we talk about means in which citizens interact with the city, this is the one that we have the highest yes on. On the community center side, always has been much lower in comparison, which is obviously a different type of service area, but have seen a couple of years now in a row of declines in terms of the percent that say that they have. And, obviously in conversations with parks, we've talked about the actual attendance numbers for community centers and how those have really been very positive over that same time frame. So I think this provides an interesting comparison point. Because this is looking across the citizenry, the percent that have, so maybe that suggests that some of what you have in those growth numbers is people who are using it more, which is also a really positive thing, but maybe there's still opportunity to grow membership into other parts of the community. So that's one of the things that we find the citizen survey is really useful for. When we have, for instance, we have another question about percent of people who've contacted 311, another percent of people who've utilized the Bulky service. We obviously have counts. We know how many people have contacted 311 or used Bulky, but to look across and say what proportion of our citizens is that, that's a really useful thing. And we can also, we've done this in the past, and we will delve in further working with park staff on being able to outline really where the opportunities are in terms of demographic groups, age, race, gender, because there's some really consistent patterns over time in terms of age groups that I think, again, goes back to what they know about the programming, but hopefully gives a view into opportunities. In good news, another thing we do with these experiential questions is then actually compare them against the satisfaction questions, do what we call a crosstab. And so when we look at people who use the community, said they've used community centers versus didn't use, it turns out, and this is consistent over the last several years since we've been doing this, there's a really big difference in how they feel about the community center. So again, that's what you'd want to see, is that people who've actually been there feel better about the maintenance and appearance, feel better about the programming, because it suggests that, again, if you can get people in, then you're going to increase satisfaction overall. And so you see that, the big difference in satisfaction. Also, you also see a little bit of a larger dissatisfaction, which is also not uncommon. We see that kind of polarizing effect in a lot of things, where people who've been there's also a bigger group who are unhappy about something, but not a huge difference there. And interestingly, usually you see a pretty big difference in neutral, and that's almost the same here. So again, maybe that shows an opportunity to further impact the perception of actual users who are in there and make them feel really good about their experience. When you look at parks, you see a really similar trend, here I would say not only do you see that really big difference in satisfaction, but really almost no difference on dissatisfaction. So suggests that there's not a lot that people are encountering. This is the maintenance of parks, and then the question about park facilities, which it says on the question, playgrounds, shelters, so prompting people to think of those specific facilities they see in parks. So again, suggests that when people visit parks, they feel positively about their experience. The important satisfaction, Julie kind of filled you in on the methodology there, and as she said, it is a really, really important tool for us because it allows us to put that satisfaction in context of what's important to citizens, what do you think we should be emphasizing, because in some cases, they're unhappy with things that they also want us to emphasize, like infrastructure. In other cases, I mean, really with parks, there's a fairly high satisfaction compared to other city services, but there's also a fairly high importance. So it kind of underscores, yes, people feel pretty good about it, but they want a continued focus there. So we really value this methodology, and because of that, we delve even further in and go ahead and do it by council district to say, here's the, this rank you see citywide, that's the same one. If you flip back to the earlier slide, you see the same ordering there. But what happens when we do the same analysis within a council district? And we've done this now in several areas, and what I would say, looking at the other areas we've done as well as this one, is this is interesting to us because it shows both a lot of consistency in priorities across geographies. For instance, the 1 and 2s are the same throughout. We don't see that everywhere. There are a few areas where you see a lot more infrastructure, as an example. You see more variation in the top priorities by council district there. So the fact that you see the 1s and 2s very consistent, I think is helpful to know that those are consistently priorities across geographies. As you go down, you still see a lot. You see a lot of consistency toward the bottom as well, things that aren't rising to the same level of priority. And then I think the other interesting thing is, so there's consistency, but then where are the areas where things stand out as being relatively inconsistent in terms of priorities? And so you see kind of highlighted by the color differentiation, which we kind of do that so that these things, numbers don't always pop out at you, but colors sometimes do. Walking and biking trails, the 5th district, that is a much lower priority for them than in the other districts. And so could be a lot of factors there. Could be that's due to lack of use, lack of access. Hard to say, but it's certainly something that might be useful in terms of as you have conversations in that area, knowing that. Comparatively, though, swimming pools for them, if you go over swimming pools in Council District 5, is higher as a priority than other areas. So just helps, I think, to highlight, where you do have geographic differences that may be influencing conversations at a citywide level, based on how people access different services. And so the last few slides here are just additionally about kind of looking at geography and at a really high level. Again, we expect to be coming back to this data a lot. We kind of continuously look at this data throughout the year, and especially in collaboration with park staff. But just to glance on it, we have these maps for every question. I've just pulled in 8 of the 12 into this presentation to highlight, but they were all available online. And this shows basically an average of the rating. So you see in this legend, which is a little small there, an average rating of over 3.4 shows up as light blue. An average rating of 2.5 to 3.4 shows up as a neutral. So this just gives you a sense at a zip code level where there are areas where people are really expressing more satisfaction versus less. And if there really wasn't geographic difference, you'd see the whole map be one color. And we have a fair number of questions where that's the case. Either it's all yellow or it's all light blue. But so these first 2 here, I pulled in the top 2 IS rank that are kind of related to infrastructure, walking and biking trails on the left and tree trimming on the right. And so the things I would point out, walking and biking trails, you actually have an area of dark blue on there, which is very satisfied on average. But in general, you see it's very, it's pretty spotty. There's a fair amount of light blue in there, but then interspersed in there's a lot of kind of yellow. And so I suspect, looking at this, that this isn't telling us just something about access, because I think the trail system probably overlaps this entire area. But so that's kind of an interesting point. On tree trimming, you actually see a little bit of orange, an average of dissatisfied, all the way to the east, the zip code east of kind of it is still Old Northeast, it's just the very eastern portion. And we've actually talked extensively in our park staff meetings with park staff about tree trimming and trends there, and we've seen that area of the Old Northeast really show up and know that there's a lot of older trees there that require a lot of maintenance. So that's been an ongoing conversation. But you see in general, the trees pretty much that neutral south, and then a few portions of light blue up north. Youth programs and swimming pools, I pulled these in side by side just because I thought actually the patterns of light blue and yellow were very similar. And that may be something that has to do with access. We've certainly seen that use of these programs seems to, in both of these programs, we've actually compared this data directly with Parks data on who's using youth programs, who's using swimming pools, and the customer perception of them. So what we pulled out for now, I think, shows that the use of those facilities really does a lot to drive the perception of them. And again, the geography here, at least to me, is a little bit unclear. There are lots of kind of little sporadic colorations, but I'm sure there's a lot more meaning that park staff who work at these programs can lend to them. This is the two community center questions side by side, maintenance on the left and programs and activities on the right. And so you would expect, and you do see a lot of consistency between the two maps, but you do see more blue on the maintenance and appearance and a dark blue section there south. So this is the type of data that in the past we've overlaid with the actual community centers. And I think with the work we've been doing with parks on community centers, this can add additional insight into that as well. And finally, these are two of the the one on the left is the park facilities, and the one on the right is boulevards and parkways. I actually didn't include the park maintenance map. It is all light blue, so I just say that instead of put it up there. So that one is very consistent. I thought both of these, again, I put them side by side. There's some programmatic relevance, but also because you see the same zip code highlighted there in the middle, zip code just south of here, I believe, 64132. Yeah, shows up as neutral on both of those, whereas the rest of the city is light blue, and then in the case of park facilities, that very northwest is dark blue. So, all in all, I mean, I put these in as both examples of the types of analysis that's possible, but also, just an opportunity to continue to delve in. We are certainly always available to do additional analysis and delve into this data and make it as useful as we can for all of you. So thanks for having us here.
Really appreciate it. I'm sure, it might be good just to do this in information session to kind of give all the commissioners a chance to ask questions.
Sure. Yeah, we can.
More, we're missing 2/5 of us. So.
Yeah, we can bring this back, can't we?
Yeah,
Sure.
do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then the complete survey is online, if someone wants to see the complete survey.
The complete report, yes, is at kcmo.gov/survey, and also there's an appendix that has all of those maps, so you can kind of flip through them. And actually, you can look between service areas, you start to see some really interesting trends. Julie and I were presenting at the police board this morning, just coincidentally, and we both recognized the zip, that 64132 zip, because it showed up on a police one as well as being the most dissatisfied with feelings of safety, actually. So I only bring that up because when you look across the service areas, sometimes things like that pop out at you that you think, wow, some of these geographies have a lot of distinct needs or feelings. So,
Good job.
Thank you very much.
I want to ask you a question. I didn't know until you just said it, or maybe it was, no, you're Kate, and that's Julie. This is
it's, yeah, hey, Julie. You can call us either name, we'll respond.
That works.
Yes.
Okay, Kate, Julie. Okay, I didn't know until today that this was given quarterly. So I received a survey in the mail, I want to say a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I threw it. I thought, we're doing this year. I didn't realize I was supposed to do it again once a quarter. So, for those who may be dense, it may help maybe tell everybody that didn't already know that this is given out quarterly. Fill it out every time they send it to you. Yeah. That might help.
So you're the reason why our score went down.
Yes, I did it. So this is amazing. I love the way you guys have parsed that data. That just tells you how big data is actually useful for
Exactly.
civic life.
Yep, and decision.
And decision making.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
All
both.
right, thank you.
Thanks.
Resolution number 30688.
Yes, Commissioners, Roosevelt's a little under the weather today, and these next two have his name on them, both the one for the Faith Academy and also the one for the North Suburban Youth Football. And so Terry's going to introduce one of our recent staff promotions, and she will present these two.
Please do.
Yes, I will present Kristen Roundy, who was recently promoted from Line Creek Community Center to Manager of Recreation. And under part of her new responsibilities is sports and athletics and aquatics. And while she's sitting here right here with Kristen, I'll introduce Krishna, because I want you all to be confused. So Krishna is also in athletics as our new senior rec director. So if Kristen can come up and go over the agreements with you, and then Krishna wants to wave. Krishna's been with us 3 weeks? 3 weeks. Came from the NAIA. I think someone else may
ran her
know.
off, but she didn't run too far, obviously, so.
Okay, so I think that the North Suburban Youth Football League is on there first. And you'll have to excuse me, it's only my second week back from maternity leave, so I'm just going to be reading what it says here. So it's just requests the use of the fields that are listed on there, and it's for, the term is from August till November of this year.
And then the other one?
And then the
We'll
oth-
take both those up at the same time, so go ahead.
Faith Academy.
Yep, and then Faith Christian Academy is at Kansas City North Community Center, and they will be hosting basketball and volleyball practices and games. And this agreement is for use of the facility Mondays through Friday from 3:30 to 9 p.m. And I double-checked that it's not every single Monday through Friday from 3:30 to 9 p.m. It was just easier to put a blanket out there, that when they aren't using the facility, it will be open to the public for other programming.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Yep.
Any questions regarding either one of these items, these facility use agreements? Right, so
Okay.
if there is no more questions or comments, is there a motion to approve both resolution 30688 and 30689?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, very good, resolution. On to directors.
Yes, another staff member to introduce, and I'm going to ask Carmen to introduce her.
We have a new administrative assistant that is here to assist me and Terry Reinert and Mark McHenry. Tracy Root comes from the Action Center, and she's been with the city 15 years. Is it 10?
Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
Okay.
Welcome.
And then I'm going to ask Richard Allen to come forward. Richard, as you know, does about everything around here when it comes to planning, engineering, design, and a whole lot of maintenance along with it. And he was recently recognized by the South Kansas City Alliance as an outstanding government employee. And I'll pass that program on down. And then prior to that, he was recognized again through Public Employees Recognition Day. This is the document that was passed out that time, again recognizing Richard for his great work in serving this department in the city of Kansas City, Missouri.
Thank you, Mark. And then you always say it's a good team, so I'm just part of the team and was recognized, and so it's always nice to get recognized. So, but the team got recognized too. So thank you.
Very good. Well done.
Great job.
Major projects. Travis.
That's great.
Well, it's very fitting that he had the recognition of Richard today, because the project before you is one of his, the trolley Blue River Connector Trail. And this is one of the projects that were listed in the bios as far as being selected for his awards, because this is a project that we had the same contractor that MoDOT had for their work on Bannister Road Bridge, and that contractor went belly up, and we had to start from scratch with a new contractor and fight with the surety company and with MoDOT to get a new contract with Rodmacher in line in January of this year. So that was done. The project got back underway, and Richard's been working with him. You can see that first portion is just a map showing the connection. This is up in the northwest corner of that map, and it's basically the little piece that connects both the Indian Creek and Blue River Trail, and then extends across the river, and that tail running up to the north then will be this project. When we talk about future phases of this trolley connector, that'll be the portion that take off from this project, go up to Prospect Avenue. That one is funded with FY18 TAP funds, so we expect that to start in 2018. And then Phase 3 will eventually connect us up over to the trolley track trail over in East Legacy Park, and that portion of the project's not funded yet, so. But we do expect this piece to be wrapped up October of this year.
Good stuff. Thank you, sir.
Ms. Travis.
Heidi, marketing report, please.
Good afternoon. I think kind of closing out the summer here. It's hard to believe, but working hard on fall and winter stuff already with the program guide and community services and back to school. We had a booth and assisted with the school district's back to school celebration, I think called Summerfest, on Saturday, and they had 6,000 people there. It was crazy. So we had really good visibility there. Always enjoy partnering with them. And then also partner with Zona Rosa on Sports Fest with the back to school sales and tax-free holiday, I guess. So lots of stuff going on. We've got this week, our fourth, is it fourth? It feels like more than that, Feast of Fountains event. This one's going to take place at the Spirit of Freedom Fountain, just down the way there by the Brush Creek Community Center. We'll have a jazz saxophonist playing, and of course the 5 food trucks and yard games, and yes, it's going to be 97 and sunny. So these have mostly hit on the hottest days of the summer, but last time we had a really good attendance. I'm hoping that will carry on over to this one. Busy weekend. The Kansas City Museum has a lot going on with their Latinos in Baseball and collecting program with the Smithsonian, and also the baseball game they're having at Penn Valley Park, and that's Friday and Saturday. Also Friday evening they have a concert at the museum, and that is a couple of the guys who are part of the Making Movies band, which has a really great following. They're really very good. So
They're pretty good.
yeah. And then, of course, on Saturday, we have Rock the Block at Union Station, which, of course, is the culmination of all of our youth programs with the mayor's office that we do throughout the summer. So that's changed a little bit this year in that it's not going to go into the late hours of the evening and do Club KC. It's just going to be all family-friendly activities from 3 to 7:30, so it will end pretty early. Of course, the first 1,500 get a free food, so get there early. You can get a hot dog. I think it's probably a hot dog. It usually is a hot dog, I guess.
Bear dog.
You can get a hot dog there, then run over to the hot dog festival and get the Frank White dog. So it's a big hot dog day on Saturday. And then, of course, we go right into the Ethnic Enrichment Festival, which, if you noticed when you drove by Swope Park, the world is being built right in front of your face across the street. So 60 booths. Melinda here is going to talk to you a little bit more about it in a second. And then also next weekend, we've added the ribbon cutting and play ball clinic for the Mulkey Square baseball field renovations. We're doing that with the park and the Guadalupe Center and the Cal Ripken Foundation. So we'll get you a bit more detail on that coming from the mayor's office this week. And then it, just goes to there, and summer concludes, pools close, we have our dog swimming party, and then we go into all of our fall activities. You'll see our social media numbers continue to grow. And I will have at the next board meeting agreement with a new marketing agency and PR firm, and it will be Sage Communications that we have chosen. We're just working out some of the details of the contract, so they will be here and you'll get to meet them, and then we'll get moving on with all the exciting new branding and website fixes and all the good stuff that we can do when we have them on board.
Great TV coverage on the slip and slide.
Oh my gosh, that thing was crazy. How did I forget to mention that? Yeah, that was pretty cool. So, thank you.
Melinda.
So I'm going to let you pass these down, and you'll notice I didn't seal them just because. You may want to use the envelope again. Hey, we recycle.
Thank you. Reuse, recycle, we are tree friendly.
Anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good day. We're getting ready for the Ethnic Festival. That's why we're all anxious. I'm anxious. Hopefully you all will be anxious. What this is a parking pass, family 4-pack for you and families to come. The little red piece of paper in there, that's the flyer that we use, the entertainment, and when it is, and that flyer and the artwork was all done by the gentleman over here who's running your sound and video, Jesse Frazier. He is an exceptionally gifted artist and has done this for the past couple of years. He realizes that he's having to go the extra mile because he's got to do better next year. He did better this year, now he's got to pass that. One thing that I would like to share with you, we do have our Parade of Nations, Parade of Flags on Saturday at 4 o'clock. That's when, if you come, we would love to have you to be introduced to the crowd. The crowd is very much aware of our partnership with the Ethnic Commission, and I have to say the grounds look gorgeous. If you drive by, the field where we park is just beautiful. They've done an excellent job preparing the grounds. We are already in process. Our tents will be delivered tomorrow, which is 2 days ahead of time, so we are well in advance of where we normally are. I was contacted earlier this month, not earlier this month, but last month, by Janie Rasmussen from the NRPA, National Park and Recreation Association, asking if we would invite some of our Congress folks to attend events in parks. And so it came to me, and guess which one I thought about? The Ethnic Enrichment Festival. And so I got online and sent a formal request to Congressman Cleaver's office, and then called asking if he were available. I heard back today from his Director of Operations in Kansas City that there is a member of his family who's having a birthday. He will be in town. She's going to talk to him and see if he will be here. I will let Carmen and Mark know. I will let Mark and Carmen know so that they can share with you all. It would be wonderful to have him here. He's very familiar with our festival. So he was Councilman 5th District, so he knows all about it and has for a while. But it's nice when we're able to have folks here who have the push of Congress and that can see what we in Parks and Recreation.
Jeff's over there writing a note down.
Okay. Oh.
Melinda's done a great job of reaching out to the office. We're doing what we can.
Thank you. Quarters later. Anyway, we would love to have you come. It's I can't promise you the weather. Last year we had 95 degrees on each side of the festival. For the festival itself, it was mid-80s and high 70s. So we're gonna look positive toward that this year. Last year it was the perfect storm as far as weather, crowds, and we were able to compete against the air show. We competed against a Saturday night or Friday night Chiefs football game. We are holding our own. We reach a family group that is not touched by other organizations, and that's cool. Last year we had a little bit in excess of 40,000 people for 3 days, for 20 hours. So my thanks to the department for riding along this wave. It is a terrific event that just brags on Parks and Recreation so much, and people understand who we are as Parks and Recreation and the partnership that they have with the Ethnic Enrichment Commission. So thanks very much. Hope to see you there.
Thank you.
Also wanted to mention, we talked a little bit about earlier, the Union Cemetery, part of our system, is now on the National Register. There was an item in the paper here just in the last week, I believe it was, and that is thanks to the good work from the Union Cemetery Historical Society. That is our partner that operates that, and they took the initiative with our blessing to pursue that, and it's not a simple process, and we congratulate them on doing that, and now it's part of our system with the National Register.
That's great.
Nothing on public hearing. I don't know if you want to just highlight anything on that calendar.
Oh, I think we've covered most of it. There is a Platte County Parks Partners meeting tomorrow at the new location now we have at the Clifford House in Zona Rosa. And then following week, the Memorial Board of Trustees, 11:30 on the 18th. And then back here on the 23rd for our next board meeting. And then just to kind of wrap up the month of August, Starlight Theater on the morning of the 25th. And then the Casey Museum Foundation Board meeting on Thursday now. Because that was kind of tough to do on a Tuesday, the same day as our regular park board meeting. So that's noon, Casey Museum Board meeting, that is here.
Here.
Is that correct? So So that's members of the board plus our other 3 members of the foundation that would attend at that same time. So it gets us through August. Okay. That's it.
Anything else? With that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
I will not be at the 5K.